You're not meant to be like everyone. Maybe you're meant to be a mirror, to show people what they have forgotten, to speak what others are afraid to say. And yes, that comes with solitude. But solitude is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is feeling unseen, and solitude is finally seeing yourself. Those times when you notice too much? Like the time a person smiles, but that smile doesn't reach their eyes. Or the pause before, "I'm fine." Or the shift in a friend's voice when they say they're okay, but they're not. It's like you feel the things that others don't, the things that others brush off. You walk into a room and you feel the tension, the sadness and the laughter, and the loneliness in a crowd. And it can get heavy, carrying the things that no one else sees. And this is the kind of pain that deep thinkers carry. It's a quiet pain. It doesn't scream. This pain doesn't ask for attention. It's not loud. It's just there, silent. But you feel the weight. You feel the weight of being too aware, of feeling things that other people can't feel. It's the pain of noticing too much, of hearing what wasn't said, feeling what others refuse to feel. You might be sitting at the table with a group of people and the conversation is light. People are laughing, having meaningless conversation. And a person talks about the weather and another talks about the latest gossip. And everyone nods, smile, and play along. And then you speak. And suddenly the room changes. You said something real, something honest, something that doesn't fit into the surface level wavelength that they have created. And what you say doesn't land. And no one laughs to what you said. And no one responds. And they shift in their chairs. And another person clears their throat, looking away. Anyway, and that moment is gone. But you felt it. That small moment of rejection. The discomfort. And this is not the first time. This has happened more times than you would care to admit. And this might make you want to doubt yourself and think that there is something wrong with you. But I need you to understand this. The more deeper you go into your own mind, the more you become alienated from the world around you. And no, it's not because you're broken. Not because there is something wrong with you. It's because the world prefers illusion. And there's a reason for this. And because the world prefers illusion, that's why it rewards those who blend in. It rewards those who conform. The world rewards those who pretend that everything is okay, when everything inside of them is falling apart. Forget about what it is that you're going through. But once you come here at work, you need to put on your best face and you need to smile. And I get it. I'm not saying that there are not times that we need to do the things that we need to do. But you have to understand the state of this world. And when you understand this, you have a better understanding of where you stand and how to move and operate from that understanding. But deep thinkers, those who are aware, they don't pretend. They can't pretend because they see through everything. And the more self-aware you become, the more you suffer. And they suffer from the general unconsciousness of the world around them, of society. Because in a world that doesn't value depth, self-awareness is not considered a superpower or a gift, at least by the world. And in a way, it can be a curse. And this curse starts early. And most deep thinkers are misunderstood from childhood. They ask the questions that other kids don't. And they wonder why grown-ups do certain things, like lie. And they wonder why there are certain rules that only seem to apply to certain people. But when they ask these questions, instead of getting an answer, they are told to be quiet. Don't ask too much questions. Just do as you're told. Be like other kids. And I remember this happening to me as a kid, especially by my father. Hey, why can't you be like Charlie? No, Charlie did this and Charlie did that. Why can't you just be like him? And as a child, this can begin to affect your mind, affect the way that you view yourself and the little confidence that you do have. And so you learn to stay quiet, or you learn to stay out of the mix, and you start losing your voice. You learn early that the good things doesn't happen to people that ask too much questions. But even though you learned to stay quiet, be silent, inside, those questions never stopped. They never went away. They got heavier. And by the time you become an adult, you've built an entire world in your mind, a world filled with unspoken thoughts and feelings that were never explored. I used to remember my dad after whooping me, or when he was whooping me, and And I would start crying. And I remember he would say, why are you crying? Why are you crying? And it's almost as if the more you cry, the more you get whooped. And in my mind, I would say, man, can I cry in peace? You're whooping me. Am I supposed to smile? Am I supposed to laugh? And I think in a way, that's one way we get conditioned to suppress our feelings, and not to be expressive. But the world that you have created in your mind, the external world does not welcome that. The external world does not welcome the unspoken thoughts, the truth, and those unexplored, deep-rooted feelings that you carry. Because the world is told to follow a script, to follow an idea. It's like we're in a Truman Show. It's like we are all in a play that we never auditioned for, but we are forced and we are expected to show up and act. But if you dare try to bring this word out in relationship, when you try to bring these unexplored feelings, they would say you're intense. And on social media, they would say, just be positive. Don't talk about that. No, let's not deal with that. Oh, that's too sensitive. And so you hide again. And not because you want to, but because you have learned what happened when you don't. You've learned what happened to those who don't conform, to those who don't blend in. And that's because our society fears what it doesn't understand. For all the conversation about acceptance, the irony is we are not very accepting to that which is foreign to us. We are not accepting to those things that we do not understand, to those things that does not fit into our own world and into our own understanding of the world around us. So as a deep thinker, as one who is very self-aware, they hide. You hide because when you express a complex thought, a complex idea, they say you're showing off. There are times I do long to have deep and meaningful conversation with people. But I'm met with the reality that not too many people are interested in having deep, meaningful conversations. Because these meaningful conversations involve truth. And truth hurts, and truth can be scary. And when you sit in silence, they think you're judging them. And when you talk about your trauma, they think you're being dramatic. And when you ask questions, they say you're overthinking. But you're not overthinking. You see clearly. Your heart is wired to pick up what others miss. It's a gift, even though the world does not consider it as a gift. And sometimes it doesn't feel like a gift because noticing too much means hurting more. But you're not overthinking. You're seeing clearly. You're observing what others miss, and you're feeling what others are afraid to feel. And that makes people uncomfortable. And not because you're wrong, but because you're right. You're right about the things that they don't want to admit. You speak the truth that others spend their whole life avoiding. You bring light to reality that they have kept buried. You remind them that something is missing, and that reminder is painful. And this is why deep thinkers, those who are self-aware, are often met with resistance. And not because of who they are, but because of what they represent. A mirror to all that has been suppressed. And when you bring this mirror to a person and all that they have suppressed, so this person is forced to encounter the shadow. And most people don't want to meet their shadow. So they reject the person. They resist the person who reflects it. And that person is often you. Like, have you ever tried to warn someone or tell them a hard truth before it's too late? And you tell them the truth. A truth to help them see a pattern, a habit that is destroying them, destroying their lives or their relationships. And instead of them responding with gratitude, they reacted with anger. You got silenced. And sometimes they ghost you completely. They no longer speak to you. But you weren't being negative. You were being real. But being real is dangerous. Being real doesn't sell. Being real doesn't entertain. When you're real, you make people think. And thinking hurts. And most people don't think. They don't change their mind. They just rearrange their prejudice. They don't change their mind or respond to truth. Facts comes in. Truth knocks on the door. And instead of letting it in, we move the furniture, make space for comfort. We push doubt or question into a corner and hang our old assumptions back on the wall. And we call it reason, but really, it's just fear dressed up as logic. You see, most people blindly repeat what they have heard and defend blindly what they've been taught. You see, it's a performance. But deep thinkers don't do this. But deep thinkers, people who are self-aware, they question. You see, they stay up at night battling with contradictions. They don't seek approval. They seek understanding. And in doing so, they tend to lose the approval of those who live on the surface. And this is the cost of awareness, the pain of noticing too much. And the more you awaken, the more isolated you become. Not because you're broken, but because everyone else is asleep and you're still trying to connect. So you try to dim your light to make others comfortable. You try to soften or butter your word so you don't scare them. You try to fit in. You see, you're fitting in and you don't even realize it. But it never works because truth has a frequency. And once you vibrate at that level, you can't go back to pretending. So if you've ever felt like you're too much for the world, like you do not fit in, it's not because you're wrong. It's not because you're broken. It's because you were born into a system that was never designed to support depth. You were born into a system of mass-mindedness. And this is why most people don't have a sense of personal identity or critical thinking, especially when they're among a large group. We all have to act the same, be interested in the same thing, think the same way. And this is why most people don't explore the truth for themselves. They simply accept what the culture gives them, without questioning if it is right or if it is true, or if it is even theirs to be concerned about. From the moment we enter this world, we were handed a script. You were told what's good, what's bad, and what success means, and what failures look like. No, we are taught to compete, to obey, to smile even when you're hurt. You're whooping me and you're asking me why am I crying. You're told to be nice even when someone disrespects you. Nice. You should never be nice. You should be kind. But nice, no. Because nice seeks to be liked. Nice is not real. Nice conform. Nice blending. Nice adjusts. Seek to be kind. So the world handles this script the moment we are born. And if you follow this script, the world, it calls you mature. It calls you a success. Oh, they are well adjusted. But if you question it, if you ask why are we doing this? This doesn't feel right. And suddenly you're the problem. You're told you're too sensitive, too intense, too difficult, too negative. But here is the truth. You're not too anything. You're not too much. You're just awake. You're in tune with the world around you. But a system that discourages inner exploration is a system that is built on fear. And fear rules this world in so many ways than we would actually like to admit. Fear of the unknown, fear of truth, fear of the human soul. And all of this fear that we have becomes culture. It becomes the way we do life, becomes the way we date. Where surface level attraction is rewarded over emotional resonance, emotional depth. It becomes the way we work, where status and productivity is prioritized over meaning and fulfillment. It becomes the way we live, rushing, chasing, scrolling, without even stopping to ask, is this really what I want? But the human soul, your soul is not meant to move at the speed of modern life. It needs space, it needs silence. And deep thinkers don't seek that space, okay? They create it. So this is why I always say you have to spend time with yourself. Most people don't want to get to know themselves. Most people are running from themselves. But when you create this space where you can be in silence with yourself, see, the people around you will feel uncomfortable. See, because they've been taught to fear silence. They've been taught to fear quiet, to run from introspection, to associate stillness with laziness. It's always what's the next thing to do? What else can I be doing? And when they are silent, they feel like something is wrong. But that is the design of the world. So you don't get to know yourself. People who are self-aware, who notice too much, see, when they walk into a room, when they walk into a place, see, they can see the sadness through the laughter, through the smile. They can see the smile that doesn't reach the eyes. They notice everything. They notice that pause before they find. And they have a gaze that doesn't just look but sees. And when people come around them, they feel seen. And people who have spent their entire lives hiding from themselves. See, being seen is scary. So they push the deep thinkers away, but not out of malice, but out of self-protection. And this is why most deep thinkers, people who notice too much and who are so self-aware, are labeled as loners or weird. They are not any of these things, but because they live at a frequency that most people are not tuned into. So they look like loners. But you have to understand, loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being unable to communicate the things that are important to you. And this is why we can be in a relationship and be with families and we still feel alone. We feel alone because we are not tuned into the same frequency as those who are around us. We don't feel like we're understood. See, this is where loneliness comes from being unable to communicate the things that are important to you. And you know it's true. I mean, how many times have you wanted to have real talks with people? Talks about purpose, trauma, life, death, only to be met with silence or small talk? How often have you had to dull or water down yourself just so you will be understood? See, that's not connection. That's survival. And for you to survive in a world that doesn't understand depth, see, the survival comes at a cost. And this cost is, you begin to doubt yourself. You start thinking, well, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I should stop thinking too much. But please, I beg you, don't. Because in a world that is so good at pretending, see, we need more people like you. People who see what's real, who feel what other people are too afraid to feel. So don't you stop thinking too much. Remember, you're not too anything. Because the moment that you abandon your depth, see, that's the moment you abandon your soul. So be brave enough to keep questioning even when it hurts. Be brave enough to stay awake even when sleep looks so tempting. No, but let's be real. Being a deep thinker doesn't make life easier. If anything, it makes life real. Because you don't get to pretend. You don't get to lie to yourself. You don't get to ignore the feeling in your heart when things don't align. You feel everything, and yes, it hurts. But it also connects you to something real, to beauty, to empathy, to love, and also to tragedy, to chaos, to silence. And in a world that tells you to be numb, to scroll, to just move on. Choosing to have depth or being a deep thinker, in itself, it's an act of rebellion. And this is one rebellion that I can stand by. It's one rebellion that I can actually encourage. So, rebel. And if you're still stuck outside of yourself, I want to challenge you to dare to go within and come back with light. One who looks outside dreams, and one who looks within awakes. Now stop asking for permission to be real. You got to stop waiting for the world to value you and start valuing yourself. You're not meant to be like everyone. Maybe you're meant to be a mirror, to show people what they have forgotten, to speak what others are afraid to say. And yes, that comes with solitude. But solitude is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is feeling unseen. And solitude is finally seeing yourself. And when you finally see yourself, you will stop chasing the world's approval. You will stop bending your truth to be digestible. You will realize that you've never been too much. You were simply too real for a world that thrives on pretending. And if you're still watching this, I just want to thank you. Now I want you to know that you are the person I'm looking for. I want you to know that you're not alone. There are other people just like you. Like and comment so I can have people to talk to and meet similar people who are on this journey. Thank you.